All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going deep on a concept that is absolutely fundamental
Okay.
to understanding how societies work. And it pops up all over the place in psychology and sociology, on the MCAT, we're talking about culture. Think of it like the blueprint that shapes how we behave. And to help us break it all down, we have, well, he's back.
I am.
Resident sociologist, anthropologist.
That's me.
Welcome back.
Always glad to be here.
So,
You know, you're right. Culture is so fundamental, and it seems simple at first,
right.
but it has these huge ripple effects, you know?
Right.
Especially when you start thinking about all the different kinds of people that future doctors are going to work with.
Oh, absolutely.
So really, our mission today is to make sure we all really understand the core parts of culture
Okay,
and why they matter so much for anyone going into medicine.
perfect. So let's just get right to it. What is culture, like officially?
Okay.
What are the pieces that make up this societal blueprint?
So at its heart, culture is really the set of beliefs and values.
Okay.
And the practices, even the symbols that everyone in a society kind of shares, and they use that as a guide for how to behave.
Oh, interesting.
It's like the operating system for the
Yeah.
whole group of people.
Okay.
And this blueprint comes from a few key things.
Okay.
So first you have beliefs. These are the ideas that everyone agrees on about what's true,
Okay.
about what's real in the world, right? Then you've got values, and this is what the society thinks is important.
Yeah.
Good, desirable. And then language is super important. I mean, it's the system of symbols, spoken and written,
Right.
that we use to talk to each other and to pass on all that cultural knowledge.
Makes sense.
We also have rituals.
Okay.
These are like the formalized behaviors, often repeated, that have symbolic meaning, and they reinforce social bonds.
Yeah, okay.
And finally, you have symbols themselves.
okay.
And these are objects or gestures or images that have a specific meaning to people who share a culture.
Wow, so it's like this really intricate system.
It really is, yeah.
It's not just an abstract idea, right?
Yeah, no, not at all.
This blueprint actually affects
Absolutely.
how we see ourselves, how we connect with each other,
Yeah.
how we understand everything around us.
Exactly. These elements are always shaping who we are, both individually and as a group. They guide us in how we build relationships, what we think is important in life,
Yeah?
even how we react when we're in a new environment.
Oh, okay.
Like imagine someone moving from a small town to a big city.
Yeah, totally different.
All the noise, the fast pace,
Right.
even something simple like making eye contact.
Yeah.
That could mean different things,
Yeah.
and they might need some time to adjust.
Yeah.
That's culture shaping their experience in real time.
That's a great way to think about it. Speaking of symbols, let's do a little pop quiz.
Oh, okay.
Get you thinking like a sociologist. Which of these would be considered a symbol in sociology? A handshake. B, a heart emoji. C, a national flag. Or D, all of the above.
What do you think?
I'm going to go with D, but I want to hear why.
You're absolutely right. It is D.
Okay.
All of the above. And what's really cool here is that a symbol only has power because everyone in the culture agrees on its meaning.
Oh, that's interesting.
So a handshake, it could be a greeting, an agreement, a goodbye.
Right, depending on the situation.
Even like making up after a fight.
Right.
The heart emoji. In our digital world now,
Yeah.
instantly means affection or love, but that's a meaning we all decided on.
Right, we created that.
We created it, yeah. And a national flag.
Oh, yeah.
That's a powerful one. It's
Yeah.
full of history, political ideas, shared feelings for the people it represents.
Wow.
The same exact object or gesture can mean total different things depending on who's looking at it and their cultural background.
So it's not about like the thing itself.
All right.
It's about what we
It's the meaning.
collectively decide it means. That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go a little deeper into the different parts of culture.
What's
the
that?
difference between material and symbolic culture?
This is really useful for understanding how cultures express themselves.
Okay.
Material culture is all the physical stuff that a society makes and uses
Okay.
and values. So that's everything from tools, clothes, technology, buildings we live in, even the food we grow and eat.
Okay.
These are the physical things that represent our culture. Symbolic culture is the intangible stuff. It's not physical. It's things like language, our beliefs, our values, norms, morals, even the stories we tell each other.
Okay, so to illustrate the difference,
Sure.
can you give us an example?
Think of a wedding ring
Okay.
as a physical object. It's just a piece of metal.
Right.
That's material culture.
Yeah.
But for the couple exchanging it,
Yeah.
and for most people in their culture, it means so much more.
Yeah, it symbolizes.
It symbolizes love, commitment, fidelity, the whole idea of marriage in society.
Right.
That meaning, that shared understanding, that symbolic culture.
Wow.
So the physical ring becomes important because of the beliefs and values that are attached to it by the culture.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, societies are always changing, right?
Always.
And it seems like sometimes our technology moves faster than our social rules.
Yeah, that's true.
So tell us about culture lag.
So culture lag, this term was first used by a sociologist named William Ogburn.
Okay.
It describes what happens when there's a gap between changes in the material culture and the non-material culture.
Okay.
Basically, new technologies and inventions pop up really fast.
Yeah.
But our values, our laws, our ethics, our social customs, they take a while to catch up.
Right. So can you give us a real-world example of culture lag?
Absolutely. Look at smartphones and social media.
Okay.
The technology spread like wildfire. But we're still figuring out how to behave online.
Yeah.
What's okay to share, how it affects our mental health.
Right, the etiquette.
Yeah. The rules, even the laws around online stuff, they haven't kept up.
Yeah, we're still figuring all that out.
Right. So when you see debates about data privacy or how social media affects teens, that's often culture lag playing out right in front of us.
Right.
Our tech is way ahead of our understanding of how to use it responsibly.
That's so true. It's happening right now. So what happens when we run into a culture that's totally different from ours? That feeling of being lost and uncomfortable, that's culture shock.
Culture shock is that feeling of confusion.
Okay.
Anxiety, even distress. When someone is suddenly thrown into a culture where everything is different from what they're used to, the norms, the values, the symbols, the behaviors, it can affect everything in their daily life.
Oh, wow.
From basic stuff like food or personal space to more subtle things like body language, understanding social hierarchies.
It sounds like it can be really overwhelming.
It definitely can be. Everything you thought was normal and predictable suddenly feels strange and confusing. It's like the rules you've learned your whole life don't work anymore.
That's a good way to put it. So when different cultures come into contact, there are a bunch of ways those interactions can go. Let's talk about some of them.
All right.
Assimilation, multiculturalism, and the idea of subcultures. What are the key differences here?
Yeah.
Especially for the MCAT.
These are really important for understanding how societies that have lots of different cultures actually function.
Okay.
Assimilation is what happens when a smaller group slowly starts to adopt the culture of the dominant group.
Okay.
They take on the norms, the values, the language, the behaviors, and often this means their original cultural identity kind of fades away as they become part of the mainstream.
Okay, so multiculturalism is different, right?
It is, yeah.
It's a different way for cultures to interact.
Exactly. Multiculturalism recognizes and values the fact that there are all these different cultures in a society. And it promotes the idea that everyone can coexist peacefully and respect each other. It's like a mosaic where each piece is different and beautiful on its own, but together they make a bigger picture instead of a melting pot.
Right.
Where everything is supposed to blend together and become the same.
Okay, so where do subcultures fit in?
Subcultures are groups within a larger culture that share specific values, beliefs, norms, interests, behaviors that set them apart in some way. This can be because of all sorts of things like hobbies, think of skateboarders, or online gaming communities.
Right, those have their own cultures.
They do. Musical genres like heavy metal, ethnic or regional identities within a country, even jobs.
Interesting.
Subcultures exist within the bigger dominant culture, but they have their own unique elements and ways of expressing them.
Okay, and then there's countercultures. It sounds like they're kind of pushing back against the mainstream.
They are. Countercultures are also groups within a larger society.
Okay.
But unlike subcultures, they actually reject the norms and values of the dominant culture.
Okay.
And often even its core institutions.
Wow.
They usually want a totally different way of life that challenges the mainstream, the counterculture movement of the 1960s.
Oh, right.
With its rejection of consumerism, social hierarchies, the Vietnam War.
Right.
That's a classic example of a counterculture trying to change society's norms.
So they're not just different.
No.
They want to change things.
Exactly.
Okay, that difference between subcultures and countercultures. It's a big one.
It is.
Okay, quiz time again.
All right.
See if you got it. Which one of these best defines a counterculture? A, a group that blends right into the larger society. B, a group that promotes multicultural values. C, a group that rejects mainstream norms and values. Or D, a group that just has different tastes in music and clothes.
What do you think?
Definitely going with C. They actively reject the mainstream.
The key word is reject.
Yeah.
That's the opposition that makes a counterculture. A, B, and D, those describe other ways that cultures interact. But a counterculture is all about pushing back against the norm.
Okay, now let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about how culture spreads and influences us on a larger scale. What role do mass media and popular culture play in all of this?
Mass media, that includes things like TV, radio, the internet, streaming services, social media. It's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, it feels like it.
For spreading cultural information, shaping public opinion, and driving the trends that make up pop culture.
Yeah.
Popular culture itself is all the mainstream stuff that people consume and share and enjoy. Things like music genres, memes, blockbuster films, fashion trends.
Yeah.
Mass media plays a huge role in spreading those.
So how does culture actually get passed down through generations?
That's called cultural transmission.
Okay.
It's how we learn and pass on cultural knowledge, values, beliefs, practices, from older generations to younger ones. And this happens through different agents of socialization. Things like families, schools, religious groups, community groups, and of course mass media.
It's everywhere.
It is. We learn our culture through these interactions and influences throughout our whole lives.
And cultural exchange isn't limited to just one society.
Nope.
Cultures are constantly interacting and sharing ideas across borders.
Exactly. That's cultural diffusion.
Okay.
The spread of cultural elements.
Yeah.
Ideas, innovations, practices, beliefs, even material things. From one society to another, this happens through trade, migration, new communication technology that connects everyone globally, even conflict and war.
Wow.
There are tons of examples of cultural diffusion throughout history and even today, like sushi and ramen from Japan and now everywhere.
Everyone loves them.
Or yoga and mindfulness becoming popular in the West. Those are all examples of cultural diffusion.
It's really amazing to see how connected cultures all over the world have become.
It is.
Okay, last but not least, let's zoom out and think about evolution.
Okay.
How does culture tie into the evolution of humans?
This is a really fascinating area. From an evolutionary standpoint, humans evolved to be social. We thrive in groups, so traits that helped us cooperate, communicate well, and share knowledge would give us a big survival advantage. Culture with its complex language, intricate systems of cooperation, and the ability to pass on knowledge through stories and traditions, that made us much more adaptable.
Okay, so culture itself is almost like an evolutionary adaptation.
In a way, yes.
That helped us thrive.
It gave us a much better way to accumulate and pass on important knowledge than just relying on genes.
That's interesting.
This ability to learn and adapt and build on what we already knew made humans super adaptable and played a crucial role in our success as a species.
Wow. This has been such a thorough and insightful look at culture. Just to recap the key points for our listeners getting ready for the MCAT. We define culture and its main elements: beliefs, values, language, rituals, and symbols. We explain the difference between material and symbolic culture. Talked about culture lag, when our values struggle to keep up with technological change. And we discussed culture shock. We also differentiated between assimilation and multiculturalism and explored subcultures and countercultures. We touched on the roles of mass media and popular culture, cultural transmission and diffusion, and finally, the evolutionary roots of human culture.
And it's super important to remember, especially for those of you going into healthcare, this isn't just some abstract stuff to memorize for a test. Understanding culture is huge in medicine. You're going to be working with patients from all sorts of backgrounds and being aware of and sensitive to their cultural beliefs and values that can really affect their health. How much they trust you as a doctor and how well you can actually help them.
That makes sense. It's not just about doing well on the MCAT. It's about becoming a better, more understanding doctor.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
My pleasure. Always happy to be here.
For our listeners, tune in to our next deep dive, where we're going to explore the concepts of norms, social control, and deviance. And we'll dig into how societies decide what's okay and what's not okay.
That's a great follow-up.
Yeah, it builds on what we talked about today.
It does.
Before we go, here's something to think about. As you move forward in your medical careers, how will understanding cultural differences shape how you interact with your patients and affect your whole approach to healthcare? In a world that's becoming more and more diverse, it's something important to keep in mind. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.